state what our position was, and that was in a doctrine, which is the Human Relations Doctrine, which hangs on the wall of City Council, one of only two proclamations that are on the wall. And we covered everything from sexual orientation to religion to the color of one's skin. Everything was included. Gender, everything was in this document. And we had some conservative members of our council, and so we were going to do this in a very open environment. It was going to be signed at a city council meeting, which meant everyone was going to have to stand up and be counted.
Has to be unanimous or not do it?
It had to be signed by every member of the council to be effective. Now, I'm sure we would have gone further with it, but that night, through no advertisements, just word of mouth, the entire council chambers was standing room only, with an adjacent room open for people. And when Ralph and I presented this to our council and asked for unanimous support, we got it. Every council member stood up and signed the document saying that human beings, no matter what their color was, what their religion, what their gender, what their sexual orientation, were accepted and would be protected in this community. And we've lived by that. We then decided, well, this is a document, it's a piece of paper on the wall. What's the next step? And that's when we formed the Human Relations Task Force, which is still is in existence today. And when there is any rumble of a problem, if the police know that there is a problem or something has happened, maybe a sign on someone's lawn or a derogatory remark made about someone, then the Human Relations Commission, our task force, goes in and starts, meets with the family and does everything they can, working with the police to make sure that if it is a hate crime, that it is prosecuted, just as the Orange County District Attorney prosecuted the skinheads who were involved in the beating of the Native American. And then out of that grew the restart of our religious, various religious groups.
The Interfaith Council.
Interfaith Council coming together and meeting on a monthly basis. And they do, and the whole
If you could pick a project or two that the Interfaith Council has been on that you think is seminal.
They have every year a gathering at the pier where they then again make sure that they'll have speakers, but what they do is to make sure that people understand that there is an importance to all religious groups, and that the Catholics are standing with the Jews, are standing with the Muslims, are standing with all of the groups in the community. So I think they make...
Father Christian was the driving force of that, is that correct?
He's one of the driving forces, and he's a man that is respected by the entire community. There's just, I don't know, he brings with him just a feeling of, this is the most decent human being I've ever met. And I don't know of a person who, in fact, his name connected with your request and Ralph's, but Father Mondor, I said, this is a good thing, because he's just an extraordinary human being. And
well, so is Mayor Bauer.
Yes, he's dynamic.
You just described that you are better for having gone down this path than a more typical path of taking up tennis or some such.
Oh, heavens,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Was there a moment when you made that decision that I'm going to go down this path, not this path? Can you describe your thoughts and feelings in that moment, if there was?
No, there really wasn't a moment. It was through some opportunities. And as I've said earlier, the beginning was the League of Women Voters expanded my mind. And first of all, education, going to the university was the beginnings, and then it started opening my mind. But I was a generation that was expected to go to college or become a secretary or whatever high school provided me with, and then marry and raise my family. that's what women of my generation were expected to do. And then all of a sudden there was a great explosion in our lives, and it said, hey, the world is out there, come on, jump on board. And I was excited. I remember that as clear as a bell. I remember my very first meeting with the League and how I thought, these women matter. These women are doing something. And from then on, I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to be on committees. I wanted to interact with people. It's just been just a wonderful experience. And I could not have had that kind of a life without the involvement that I've had.
Is there something that stands out from your service as mayor that you should mention now?
Well, I did something that most people might feel was rather mundane, but I felt it very important, and I think it's going to be more important as the years go by. I had the city undertake, and I was on the committee, a infrastructure study. Now, most people don't do that as mayor because it's not got the
Massive,
glamour,
yeah.
and
It's not sexy.
you know, you scream when your road needs repairing, but other than that. And so we did.
So you mean you just wanted to look at what was there and what the needs might be going forward?
What the needs might be going and how to finance it. That's what I wanted to come out of this committee, to know that a certain amount of money, and this has happened, a certain amount of money has to be put aside for infrastructure. I mean, when your sewers all go out, someone's going to scream.
Like just happened in the San Fernando Valley, the water main busted, and there's like 50,000 houses or whatever without water.
And more will do it because they have
Well,
not
it's
been
100 years old.
They can't keep up with their infrastructure. So that was something that was important to me. The fun part of being mayor that year was we reopened our pier. Pier Plaza was dedicated, and we had a whole month of local entertainment on the pier, and in our amphitheater down at Pier Plaza. And so that was a fun time. But I always look back on, I think the most important thing that I contributed was the Human Relations Task Force.
And is that a city group or a county group?
City. We have a county group also, but this one is just Huntington Beach.
Tell us what the Human Relations Task Force mission is.
Their mission is to make sure that everyone in this community is treated equally.
I'm going to describe two viewers for you.
Okay.
And what I'd like you to do is tell us why each of them might want to be of service to someone or something other than their own narrow self-interest. The first one is someone who's maybe they're educated, maybe with or without a family, but they're doing well in their life, they have a good income, their social life is very active, they're busier than a one-armed paper hanger. And the other is someone who's maybe struggling. Maybe they've lost a few jobs. There's maybe even serially unemployed in their life. And they're struggling to it's all they can do to get dinner on the table each day. Why would each of these people want to be of service to something or someone other than themselves?
Well, I think it's a standard I've always used as a politician. Every morning you look yourself in the mirror. Are you proud of that person? Do you feel that you've been living a selfish life because everything is centered around what will enhance your lifestyle? To the person who is struggling, the more contacts you make in this world outside yourself, the more it's going to be of assistance to you. That may be kind of a selfish way to look at it, but
so you would say that someone who's struggling but finds 2 or 5 hours a week to give is likely to meet someone there who might actually improve their employment prospects.
And part of making a change in your life or having some success in your life is how you feel about yourself. And when you are working with other people and doing some good, I've heard many people who live almost at a poverty level, but maybe give a little time at their food bank, or they.
There might even be a food bank that gives them food.
That's right. And so I think it's involvement, it's working with other people that really can make a difference. And in many cases, just bottom line, it might make a difference financially. It may be an avenue to a career you never thought you could have, or just a plain old job that you desperately wanted. But the important thing is continuous interaction with others and being able to communicate with others in your community. Otherwise, you're isolated. You're a little island onto yourselves. And for the wealthy person, even the wealthy people, and many do this to benefit their own selves and their own lives. Many people are into charitable organizations because it enhances their business prospects.
To make better contacts.
And they make better contacts. So it's all contacts. And
you talked about how you believe you've gotten much more out of your service than you've given. So I want you to try and express that in a way that my two examples might, relate to. What could they expect to get out of serving?
what you can expect to get out of serving is you become a better person. And anyone that becomes a better person has a great deal of respect for themselves. And if you're able to respect yourself, you can do anything you want in this world. You also meet wonderful friends. I can say that most of my close friendships, which are many in this community, were because of the service I was doing in the community. I met wonderful people. Doors open for you. And it takes you as maybe beginning as a selfish, self-centered individual, which many of us are when we get
almost all of us
started on this long journey, and you become so dimensional that sometimes I think that you have to stop and think, this is who I am now. This is what I was 50 years ago, and these are all of the things that have happened in my life and the opportunities. I've been to Washington, D.C., and before committees of Congress. I've been to the White House. I've been to the inauguration. I've been to the state capitol. I've met the governor. None of this would have been possible without my involvement in this community. The opportunities are endless, but you have to take advantage of what every community offers. There is not a community in this nation that doesn't have a role for people who want to become involved.
Can you give us a suggestion as a low commitment, non-threatening first project that each of them might attempt?
Well, it depends on the community you're coming from. But if I were...
Just they live in any town USA.
I would say the first thing you do is you go down to City Hall and you ask them what are some of the committees that are going to need recruits for that committee from the community. Every city has city committees, and you take a look
You mean citizens committees?
Citizens committees.
Like the city of Los Angeles has all those neighborhood councils.
That's right. And if you're here in Huntington Beach, the Environmental Board, the Planning Commission.
And so a person who has no experience, they're not even a real estate agent, can walk in and get on the Planning Commission.
Call your city council members and see what they have available for you. They may be doing some appointments to a commission or to a board, and you let them know you're interested in being on that board. You meet with them. The one thing about local government, it's a very open process, and it's also a process that when you call someone and say, a city council member, I'd like to have an appointment with you because I'd like to talk about some of the opportunities. They're going to be, first of all, they're going to be impressed that you took the effort to call them to say, I want to become involved in my community. What are some of the opportunities? I know when I was a city council member, I would have people maybe who were new to the community. And they would come into my office and they would say, I'm new to the community, I want to learn more about you, but I want to be involved. What are your suggestions? Council on Aging, Human Needs Task Force, Children's Needs Task Force. The list goes on. And then beyond the city, there are nonprofits that always want volunteers. And so
Like the Boys and Girls Club.
you pick up that phone and you call and you make an appointment to go in and you show you're interested. And I don't care what your interest, children, the senior citizens, the arts, community services, which would be our park system, the library, every one of those institutions wants and needs volunteers. And believe me, there's a role. If you want a role, there is a role for you. But you have to have the gumption to say, I want to do it, and to know at the end the rewards will outweigh any number of hours you've given.
Now, all of the questions that I've asked you are mostly in the box. They're ones that you could have projected that I'd be likely to ask you. That's about to shift.
Okay,
Okay.
far away.
If you knew that you could not fail, if I were able to issue you an ironclad guarantee of success, what project would you attempt?
Well, it would probably be at a higher level.